watching Tell It Like It Is, and my name is Kathy Benuck. And once again, we are doing one of the shows dealing with candidates who are running this year and for Bedford office in our 2014 Bedford town election. And election day is Tuesday, March 11th. Get it on that calendar. Now, during the series, I'm interviewing candidates who are running for town council, school board, town clerk, and town moderator. The candidates this year had the opportunity to do both this show and also to do Candidates Corner, which is a BCTV produced show. Council and school board candidates also had the opportunity to participate, in the Bedford Men's Club debates. Now, hopefully, we would have thought that all candidates would have participated in at least one of them. As far as Tell It Like It Is goes, only 2 candidates did not bother to respond to my invitation to do a Tell It Like It Is show. One of them was town council candidate David Coles, and the other was town clerk candidate Courtney Hodgson. I'm not sure if that's the right pronunciation. Coles did not participate in the town council debate, and I'm told he did not do a Candidates Corner show either, and Ms. Hodgson did not do a candidate show. So, I mean, I'll throw in an editorial comment. Frankly, I think if a candidate can't find the time to do at least one show, that they would be before Bedford's public. I don't really know why anybody would vote for them. The Tell It Like It Is series is different from Candidate Corner because with Candidates Corner, each candidate did have an opportunity to choose who they would like to interview them. And there was really no requirement as to what kind of questions would be asked or how they'd be asked. On this show, obviously, I'm the one doing the interviews, and what I am doing is candidates have absolutely no idea what questions I will ask them. But to be as fair as possible, I'm asking the same questions of the people in the same race, so that nobody can say, she skewed it one way or another. All of the shows are going to be released at the same time, so no candidate would have the opportunity to see the show of an opponent before doing their own show. Now, in addition to the shows being aired on BCTV, they will be on a website that I hope you're very familiar with, and that's our show's website at www.bedford. I'm sorry, I'm about to give BCTV is www.tellitlikeitisnh.com. Candidates provided their own background information to me at my request, some very lengthy and very detailed. Others did more like a kind of little bullet thing that they thought people should know about. What I did then was to keep the introductions as fair as possible in terms of length. I took out kind of principal points that I thought maybe the audience would be interested in hearing. And also, to be fair to every candidate, what I have just got done saying is being said at the beginning of every single show so that we wouldn't have just 1 or 2 candidates losing that time. So, with all that, my guest on this show is a candidate for town council, and that would be Jim Aguiar, and he's one of the people who gets very to the point with his background, so I won't be talking a whole lot about it, but I hope he'll tell us more during the interview. Jim is a WPI, Worcester Polytech, that is, graduate in computer science. He has lived in Bedford for 20 years with his wife and son. Starting back in the 90s with a degree like computer science, obviously, guess what? He wound up working in all kinds of high-tech positions and with a lot of high-tech startup companies. And as we all know, those are the big thing today. Today, he does own his own IT consulting business and has a lot of clients from Bedford, businesses and individuals. 3 years ago, he was one of the principal people who helped found a charter school, and that's the Polaris Charter School, and that's over in Manchester. And he stayed active with that. He's currently on their board of directors, and he also serves as chairman for them, treasurer, for them. So, with no further ado, I want to welcome Jim to the show. Thank you so much for finding the time to do it. We're on the heels of an election, and thanks for throwing your name in. It's always good to see people willing to get involved.
Thank you for having me here, Kathy.
I'm delighted. Now, first question. As you know, voters will decide on a $30 million road bond at the March 11th town election. Given the fact that we're again seeing a big hike on the school side of our tax bill, the bond issue could possibly fail because people are upset. If you're in the new council, what would you suggest is going to be the next step should that go down to defeat?
Oh goodness, I'm crossing my fingers that it passes. Thinking that that road bond doesn't pass, man, that puts us in a real rough position. Actions to take if that doesn't pass, goodness. We need to start looking at where we can make cuts on the town side in order to make that happen. And trying to, cut from where there's very little fat on the town side. It'd be very difficult
yeah,
to do.
Unfortunately, because they've held everything back because they know the anger of the public because the school side keeps pumping.
Well, that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, that school board budget. The only thing that we'll be able to do, we're not flush with cash. We just have to restructure how we go about issuing the bonds. They're trying to do the whole $30 million bond issue now to get around the psychology of the residents once we get further down the road and we've taken care of the majority of the roads and we have all of those lesser traveled roads and we don't need to worry about them. Why would we need to issue another $10 million bond in 6, 7, 8, 10 years when not really anyone uses those roads? Which
obviously isn't the cost-effective way either to have multiple bonds, particularly with the interest rates they could get now.
Oh, hey, we got cheap money now. Let's enjoy that while we can.
Yeah, I think that's why they really pushed to try to package it all at once and have that long-term plan, which makes sense. I think there, is going to be a lot of discussion should it go down because there are obvious problems and they have to get taken care of.
Yeah, we have to get everyone out there and make sure that one passes.
Yeah, well, I figured you were following it. As you, oh no, let me back up for 1 second. Another question. We now have a person on the town council who ran and was elected unopposed last year. And this person was just beginning her job as an elected state representative from Bedford as well. What do you think of that? And part of that question also is, would you run for an additional public office while you were sitting on the town council?
I'm going to step back and have a discussion that I had with a current council member who had suggested that I look at running for both school board and town council. 2 at once?
Really?
Well, the charter doesn't allow that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had the privilege of running through the charter before I decided to do this. The idea of running for an additional public office has crossed my mind, but I think that given... While
you were sitting in the...
I'm wondering if I would do it.
Okay.
And I think the answer is no. Given my current... I wouldn't say obligations, but my current responsibility as a father, that is my first and foremost priority. Taking that time away from my family to serve my town, that's very important to me. But to then also cut that time and serve the state or any other public office beyond the additional department seat that needs to be held by a town council member. I don't see me doing that. I don't think it's a good idea.
Well, we all only have 24 hours to the day.
24 usable hours in a day, absolutely, but still.
And I mean, the other side of it, what concerned me is there's a learning curve when you are elected to something. And, when you're dealing with state government, I mean, for openers, there are literally thousands of bills that, no, you're not going to be, proficient in all of them, but you should at least glance at them and have a sense of what the heck you're voting on. And to also come on to the town council at the same time, to me, I didn't like it, and I said so. And I'm just curious if anybody ever thought of it the same way I did.
Yeah, I'd say it's something that's not for me.
Okay. Yeah, you answered. Now, as you also know, Bedford voters in the March election will have a chance to vote on the bond issue to fund the construction and equipment for an additional fire station on South River Road. And again, that could fail due to the higher school tax issue that people are upset about. As far as the fire station itself, are you convinced of the need for that additional station, or do you think another solution might be found with some creativity, particularly if that bond is defeated?
So if I understand your question correctly, If the bond is defeated, can
Well,
another
it was
solution?
kind of a two-part question.
Okay.
You know, as is, are you convinced of the need for it? Or do you think that there might be another solution to building a whole brand new station? And of course, if the bond is defeated, then if they want to fix anything, there's going to have to be another solution found.
My understanding is that the substation went up to the voters a number of times, including back in a infrastructure bond back in 2011, where 2/3 of the town passed that, you know, trying to get that substation built. And we had a budget, there's a budget shortfall, cost overrun, whatever the case may be. If the bond were to fail, I am convinced that with some creativity, something could be figured out. Obviously, there's a significant cost with the mutual aid that we pull in from the other towns.
Yeah.
Especially with just a couple weeks ago, we lost that one of our ambulances, and we're still dipping into mutual aid in order to cover that. So I would be convinced that I would be one to trust but verify what my fire chief has to say and my police chief has to say, and they're both saying with numbers to back up their claims that we need this.
So you do think they've made the case?
From what I have read, it sounds like that there is a need given the growth in the area. Whether or not the substation that is proposed with the upper limit of the $3.8 million price tag, there may be some line items that could be questions. I would be convinced that there's a creative solution out there that might not necessarily require that whole $4 million bond to be passed. But if it does, then I know that we'll have a whole bunch of new fire and safety toys to play with in town.
Well, I mean, it's a wild card, you know, on both bond issues. It truly is. I mean, I don't know that anybody's predicting an outcome. I think that, you know, people recognize there are needs in the town, but a lot of people are saying enough already. You know, stop hitting me with more and more taxes.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a, you know, it's a bad situation on the town side. Because we don't really have a choice on the school side.
Right,
I mean, even if we vote against the budget, the deliberative kicks in, and it's never very significantly different.
That default budget's still 72% of our current budget.
One year it was higher.
It's difficult to get around that,
Yeah, it is.
and it's unfortunate that we have to have these discussions about you know, some certain town needs like our road bond, where it shouldn't be that difficult of a discussion to have in order to make sure we upkeep our town.
Now, you probably know this because I think you've visited with a few people and done some research, but by regional and national standards, we do not have enough police officers in Bedford. And that situation has existed for years. How are you with that?
My understanding is that we have in the budget room for 2 new police hires.
Well, they're not really new.
Well, I understand
they're two unfulfilled positions.
They're getting us back
that were
to
left vacant, for a couple
that
of
level
years,
for what, 6 years ago.
It's a while
when they left. So it's nice to get back up to that amount.
But we haven't yet allocated money to hire brand new people to bring us up to the standards.
And that comes back to the discussion we just had about the roads. We have.
But are you comfortable with that?
Am I comfortable with not having
the full complement of a police department that we should have?
I would say that getting back up to the levels that we were at 6 years ago is important.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously. But to say whether or not I'm comfortable at that level, I don't have enough information to answer that comfortably.
Well, don't you think we should be at least where we're supposed to be by well-tested standards?
My infamiliarity with what those standards are, I couldn't say yes or no. If you told me this is where we're supposed to be, well, yeah, that sounds good, but I would need to find out what those standards are in order to answer with any fervor.
Well, it's not going to be an issue immediately, certainly, but probably in the course of the coming year. I'm imagining that the council's going to be discussing it,
Absolutely.
and I'm imagining the police chief is going to be discussing it.
And that would be the first phone call I would make.
Yeah.
I want to see
Well,
where the chief is on that.
Yeah.
You have to trust the leaders you put.
Actually, I've done shows with the chief, and I'll make it easy for you. Go on my website.
I will.
Tell
I
it
will
like
do that.
it is
Tell it like it is, yep.
nh.com, and you can hear some of the comments on that.
Wonderful.
Shameless plug, huh?
Love the plug.
Shameless plug. Now, if legislation is passed this year to allow Beano gambling in restaurants and bars, as you know, there has to be local approval. Would you support or oppose allowing Beano in Bedford's restaurants and bars?
Goodness. I would say my knee-jerk reaction is something I wouldn't be comfortable with.
Okay.
Not something that I've given much thought to. I'm not familiar with that being proposed in the Bedford restaurants.
Well, the legislation hasn't passed yet.
Understood.
It's been approved by committee. Now, what will happen from here is anybody's guess.
I'm a big fan of our local dining establishments. I'd say it's a passion of mine, food and cooking and dining. Very
So you're
much,
saying you wouldn't be thrilled seeing all these little gambling machines in there?
I'll frequent Copper Door and the BVI Technique, and to think that I'd be sitting down and you have the little Keno monitor up in the bar, that's not something that I particularly enjoy. And I'd say that would be a detraction for anyone coming to our town as a destination for dining.
Now let me be the devil's advocate here. What if the state decided that the town would get a healthy chunk of the money that was spent on those places? Would that change your mind?
It'd be worth a discussion at that point. Again, given our needs on the budget side, in order to fulfill some of our needs that are difficult because of our school budget, I wouldn't categorically say no. I don't want to have that discussion. If the state were to come in and say, hey, you're going to get, we already get a portion of our meals tax. If we were to also throw in a portion of the gambling tax, then we'd say, well, yeah, maybe, but let's discuss this.
Good. I like that answer, actually. If you had said I'm all for them, I probably would have argued with you. What the heck? I've been known to argue with people. Now, there is a current plan, and it kind of came about through the urging of one council member. There's a current plan for the council in the course of the coming year to review the town charter to determine if it needs some possible amendments or even a revision. Given all that's swirling around all of us, money-wise and issues and so on, do you see this as an efficient use of council time, that they should prioritize when they set them and have that in there, or you think it's not really worth their time?
Oh, goodness, we've got a lot going on in the town, a lot of change. We have our new town manager.
Yes.
We have a new superintendent.
A lot of change this year.
We have, hopefully, our road bond to be dealing with. To tell you that I want never change the charter, I would say no. I wouldn't say that. To discuss the possibility of changing it, I wouldn't say it's an ironclad document. We can have those discussions.
But do you think it's something we just have to start for the sake of starting?
No, I'm not a fan of doing something just for the sake of doing something. If there's a reason to do it, if there's a need that we need that if we have to go up against the charter and we say, hey, the charter says we have to do this,
well, yeah.
and it's
something's
stopping
identified,
business.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. At that point, then I would say it would be an efficient use of the town's time or the town council's time. But with everything we have on our plate, unless there's a clear identified need that we need to go in and open that charter up, it's
a lot of work to that.
Exactly. So again, more only if there's a need should we really be open that charter up.
I mean, truthfully, I have not heard any public outcry for such at all.
Exactly.
There may be, but I mean, I haven't heard it. Have you?
I have not.
No. Okay. Another hot issue in town right now is one that is before the zoning board, and it's a proposal to build a new gas station on Route 101 at the intersection of Hardy Road by a company that is known to offer lower prices than a lot of the gas stations in the area. If you followed it, you know that some of the neighborhood area people are opposing it, as is the owner of another gas station that is already on Route 101. Obviously, you know, no business is thrilled to see a competitor next door, but I mean, that's the nature of the world. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you think that we need this in Bedford, that it would be a good service to the people of Bedford?
Well, I'll say that I'm all for business development, especially along our carrier roads. I would love to see more restaurants and more tech companies come into town. To say that we have a need for a gas station on 101, I don't see necessarily a need, but to put a gas station down.
But what about the offer that we would have an option of where we'd buy and how much we'd pay?
I think that with the, 4 gas stations we have in town, all along that 101 Boynton Street area, within a 6-mile span of road, there's a decent amount of options. I
don't think any of them are known for bargains, though.
Well, I tend to fill up at the New Irving down by Market Basket. You know, in my opinion, that seems to be one of the lower price places. Not right on 101, but right off 101.
Is it an Irving that's, you know, honest to God, I can't think. Is it an Irving that's being proposed for 101?
I believe it's a Hess down on Hardy Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I agree with you that there is one over by Market Basket, but I mean, that's not convenient to a lot of people in town.
Exactly.
Certainly.
And we're not, whether or not this matters, I believe Hess has pulled their permit or their application to build there.
Well, my understanding is they haven't pulled it.
Okay.
They asked for postponement because they're going to change the number of gas pumps.
There were quite a few.
Yeah, because apparently it was large enough that I guess, you know, it was indicated to them you're asking for too much. So I guess in the process of that, they had to kind of re-put the whole thing together to go back before a board.
It's not the most ideal.
It's going to be with lesser numbers of
Still,
pumps.
it's not the most ideal of locations. I mean, you were changing wetland setbacks and a number of rules in order to fit that over in that location. That's something that
Maybe
doesn't
we've done that
excite
for
me.
other businesses.
But for a gas station that could I understand there are safety protocols in place and monitors in place, but I'd be concerned about the majority of us are on well water. To think that there's a possibility of that coming in.
Yeah, but that applies to the other gas stations. In town,
Understood.
too.
Understood. It was just, from what I've read so far, and I would not say that I'm educated on the subject. It is the idea of putting a gas station at that corner. I don't find particularly exciting.
You don't like it?
If I were living over there, I'd clearly be up in arms.
Well, everybody complains about anything that's going to be in the neighborhood. Doesn't matter what it is.
Exactly.
I mean, you should have heard all the fussing and fuming before Walgreens ever got built.
I recall.
Were you in town then?
Absolutely.
I mean, that went on and on and on and on.
Yeah. We don't want that barn to go anywhere. There's some open land over there that looks like some restaurant pads were ready to be poured, and that whole area is cleared over by the weather vane. I don't know what the plans are over there, but.
I may be wrong, but I think at one time somebody wanted to build one of the fast food places over there, and they weren't allowed to because it would change the character. And I mean, change the character. It's a highway. Yeah.
My reservations would be only rooted in the extreme situation of seeing our corridor of 101, which is already heavily traveled, turned into the Amherst Street in Nashua.
Oh, yeah, and I don't think we'll see that happen, honestly. I don't.
We shouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm, and to answer your original question, I'm not opposed to seeing another gas station on 101. There are a number of options. You know, having another one, good for competition, good for business, good for the residents.
I think a lot of people would like to see it because certainly a lot of people went to Stop and Shop, the gas station there, because of the prices.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people were upset when Stop and Shop left, not so much for the supermarket, but for the gas station.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of why I'm following it, but I don't want to spend too much of your time on that. I want to kind of get now to the end here because we are running out of time. So what I would like to do is this. I'll ask you a question and then just turn it over to you, and you're going to run out the clock except to give me time to close the show. And what I'd like you to answer is what you think is the most important thing coming up this year for the Bedford Town Council. Do you have a personal burning issue that you want to go on to that council to kind of bring to the forefront, and tell voters why they should? I mean, look at that camera. Ask for their vote and tell them why they need you in there.
My personal burning issue. Let's see. I'd say that my frustration lies in going to these our town meetings, department meetings, where we have residents coming in near the end of the process, the end of the decision-making process, and they start, they're hand waving and fist pounding. Why did this happen? What is this?
No, you're right.
And the departments and the town council, we're all following the rules of posting our meetings at the town hall, the library, at the schools. But there's a good portion of the town that, from what I've been told and from what I've seen and from what I've heard, don't necessarily get over to town hall.
No,
and don't open up the newspaper.
No, they don't.
So I would love to see that more transparent, not necessarily transparency, but that reach out to our residents to get more involved. Why is it that we only have so few people trying to run for seats?
Now, you went to that public meeting, didn't you? The joint meeting between
absolutely.
the
That was
council,
wonderful.
school board, and legislature.
I want to see that more often.
I think that was a great idea.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think Jim Scanlon deserves a lot of credit for the work he did on that.
Absolutely. They were saying that we might see that maybe 3 times a year.
I think that'd be great.
Oh goodness, if we can.
And it was well attended.
Absolutely.
Which other meetings aren't.
No, that was very exciting. It was very nice to be able to, in one location, get residents to sit down, talk to our state reps, talk to our state senator, talk to the school board and the town council. Man, that was a privilege to be able to get everyone in one room, everyone talking to each other. That's the environment where we might be able to. How much time do you need?
Well, I've absolutely not longer than 1 minute to tell people why they should vote for you.
I would say vote for me, and I love this town. Been here a long time, and I want to see it continue in the right direction. Thank you.
Wow, that was good. You did it. We came in. Well, I do appreciate you being here, and we've been dealing with snow things all day and so on. And,
it's been a fun day.
Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy day for everybody, I think. And, congratulations on getting in the race, and best of luck with it.
Thank you very much
Thank you for being here.
Talking today.
Thanks. Well, okay. Now you've met, I think, well, in the rotation we did it, he is the last council candidate to come in. But how they'll appear on TV in the same week is not my call. BCTV decides that. But in any event, you've had the opportunity to hear them, and I had the opportunity to hear Jim, and I hope you learned a lot about him tonight. And as always, I would like to thank you for watching the show, and would strongly urge you watch all of the shows that we did with the candidates. You need to know who's running. You need to know what they're saying. You need to be more involved. And that's telling it like it is. So thanks for watching, and until the next one, bye-bye.